72 hours, the cut-off point for expecting human survival in this. That point passed at 4:17 a.m. yesterday. But still, somehow people emerge alive. Here in Kahramanmaraş province, after 99 hours entombed, two sisters are found alive. A rescuer puts on some music for them. What do you want? He asks. A Magnum ice cream, says 15-year-old Ayfer. Double chocolate or white chocolate, he jokes back. Normalize, calm things, distract. Freed at last. Come here, he says, give me a hug. Her 13-year-old sister Fatima, also alive, pulled free moments later. So very many survivors brought here to the university hospital in the city. So overstretched, beds are in the foyer now. Safer here, they think, from aftershocks. And here, Syrians, now double refugees from war and earthquake. A family torn apart. 12-year-old Fatma has arm and leg injuries.
My grandmother, she's dead, I saw her. Just that. My relatives, cousins, their houses, no one came out.
Her brother Ahmed, a dental student, recalls being trapped with Fatima and the family.
She was above us. Me and my mother and my father and my youngest brother, we were in the same place. We were like in a cave like this, in a mirror.
Like a cellar underneath?
Yeah, yes. Yeah. We can move a little bit, but it's hard. We can move, but she was above us.
She was above.
Yeah, she was under the ceiling. She is and my grandmother. She was above my grandmother, and the ceiling above them. We sat there for 4 hours, 5 hours. Then I saw light going out from far. I tried to get there to see, to yell, to get voice.
To shout for help.
Yeah. I tried for like an hour. They didn't hear me. I tried to. It was like this. I got out of
a tiny hole.
Yeah.
You escaped through.
Yeah. I tried to open it. I tried to get there.
Ahmed ended up saving 3 of his family, breaking free with his bare hands. The cuts still fresh, of course. Much has been said of the issue of hypothermia, sub-zero winter nights trapped in rubble. But at least one doctor here wonders if this might be a factor in survival for some, particularly the very young.
It's amazing, but there are some reasons about this. We think maybe hypothermia.
Hypothermia. Yeah.
Hypothermia, yes.
Yeah.
And their metabolism is
oh, it slows. So the hypothermia helps.
Hypothermia helps maybe.
Maybe.
We think now.
Yeah. So we are learning from this in some ways.
We are learning from this, but it's not.
It's not science.
It's not science.
It's a hypothesis.
Yes.
Interesting.
Conjecture for now, but you have to wonder, as a 4-year-old girl is retrieved from the bitter grip of winter and concrete in this city overnight after a rescue lasting several hours. Then consider Police Sergeant Osman First, trapped for 104 hours here, reciting the Quran as rescuers hold his hands and protect his eyes. To cheers and shouts of God is great, he gestures from the stretcher in triumph. It's amazing, a doctor told me today. Some people come out of the rubble with nothing wrong. Let's hope Sergeant First isn't the last of those.
Alex Thompson reporting. Well, we have talked this week about the moment at which rescue missions become recovery operations, that horrible turning point that comes in the wake of every natural disaster. But in Turkey and in Syria, again and again, we see that we are not there yet. Nearly 5 days of digging, and still rescuers are pulling people out alive. Though there is joy in their rescue, the moment is tinged with heartbreak for the world they emerge into. 90 hours, trapped in the dark, no room to move, no energy to cry. Inshallah, they whisper, God willing. Yagiz Ulash is 10 days old. For half of his life, he has been buried underground. He is cradled, lifted up through the tunnel they dug to get to him, and carried on to a waiting ambulance. His saviours can't quite believe. This is how their mission ended. But it wasn't over yet. His mum was with him in the void. She kept him alive and kept herself alive too. 100 hours. After this long, with no water or food, getting an intravenous bag of fluids hooked up is the priority. A woman's hand reaches for help. She is Sabahat Vali, and rescuers managed at last to pull her free. Then they could dig out her son. The little fight Serhat has left, he used to cry out. Perhaps for his mother, perhaps with impatience. But the final delicate moments of his rescue can't be rushed. He gets an oxygen mask. Then a stretcher. His ambulance followed his mother's to hospital. On day 5, fewer searches end like this. But there are more than enough to keep hundreds of teams digging. How did this little girl survive for so long and come out with a smile on her face? In Kirikan, Zubayda Karaman had been desperate for good news of her own. A German rescue team found her sister Zeynep 3 days ago. She was buried so deeply and trapped so awkwardly, only last night could they tunnel close enough to touch her.
I was up there for about an hour, and all we could hear was her crying, really sobbing. You have to imagine this is a living hell for a woman who can hear the drilling over her head.
Still, she held on. 104 hours after the quake, Zeynep emerged from the darkness, given sunglasses to shield her eyes.
The tension was extreme. Now she's out. Now I believe in miracles.
He's not the only one. Zubayda couldn't quite find the words to thank them, but they knew exactly how she felt. Across the border in Syria, Jomar Biazid arrived at a hospital tent in Azaz. He has been mourning his wife and his daughter, who he lost in the quake. Today, he found his 1-year-old son, Ibrahim. Dad, the baby says. Jomar is too overwhelmed to comprehend what is happening. He seems almost afraid to kiss his son, as if he can't quite believe that it's really him. On Monday, Ibrahim was found alone in hospital in Afrin. This video of him was shared on social media in the hope someone who knew him would come forward. Both father and son are struggling, with no family and no home. They only have each other and a long recovery ahead. Now, well, just while we've been standing here, I have been joined by Sinan, who has a relative that was in this building. Tell me about that.
Yeah, in Monday morning we had real disaster in our city, Adana, and also other 10 cities of south side of Turkey. It was after midnight around 4:17.
And who is it? Who is in here from your family?
She is my cousin. Yeah. We are still waiting for her to rescue him. Her body. Her body. Yeah.
You think it's her body rather than a rescue? You don't think she's alive anymore?
No. At the first day of the earthquake, people here working told us there is no sign of life. So there were lots of buildings around here already collapsed. So they decided to live here because of there were no signs of.
I see. And now they've come back.
Yeah.
Sinan, I'm so sorry for your loss. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for coming here and showing the situation. I mean, we had real disaster here. Thank you for coming here.
It's a terrible disaster. We'll do our best. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Well, late today, the Syrian civil defense group, the White Helmets, released video of an incredible moment. In the countryside near to rebel-held Idlib, the little girl can be seen climbing free from a collapsed building with the help of a human chain of white helmets. She emerges before an enormous crowd of cheering onlookers. God is great, they shout, as one after another, more and more children are pulled from the rubble. Well, at least 3,000 people are known to have been killed in Syria after Monday's quakes, and many more desperately need water, food, medicine and shelter. The quake has compounded the effects of the 12-year war, which has left the country divided into government-controlled areas and areas in the north controlled by rebel groups, which the government considers to be terrorists. Syria's President Bashar al-Assad has been criticised for refusing to allow aid into rebel-held areas, which were badly hit by the quake. He made his first trip to the earthquake zone today. He visited Aleppo city, which his own forces bombed mercilessly while retaking it from the rebels, and said he would work non-stop to help victims. The Syrian government said it had approved humanitarian aid delivery across the country's various front lines, but offered no details about how that would work. Well, let's talk now to Dr. Steve Mannion. He is one of a medical team flown out here by the charity UK Med, which enables NHS staff to volunteer on overseas crises like this by funding staff to cover their jobs back home. Dr. Mannion, thank you for joining us. What are doctors up against here right now?
Thank you. So there's an initial phase of acute injury from the earthquake, if they survive, in terms of crush injuries, long bone fractures and the like. That phase lasts for a few days after the earthquake. Thankfully, here we are in the moment we're in Turkey, and Turkey is a fairly sophisticated country with the evacuation chains open. So severely injured patients were able to be evacuated to the big cities such as Istanbul and Ankara. And most of the lives are saved in those first few days with the work of national staff. The situation is clearly much more complicated in northwest Syria, where those evacuation chains don't exist, where there's a great shortage of doctors and nurses, and where the hospitals have been badly damaged by years of war.
And for those people who are left here and who are currently living in tented camps, a lot of them have lost their hospitals as well in this earthquake. I mean, presumably their normal health needs will also now have to be taken care of.
That's absolutely right. So we're now moving from that phase of treating acute injury into the more maintenance phase. So there've been damage to hospitals, or hospitals have been flattened so that they cannot be used. It's not safe for the clinical staff to work in them. So very much you're finding that there are impromptu hospitals, tented hospitals, often in the car park of the hospital that's not fit to be used at the moment. And one of our teams is from tomorrow will be involved in helping in that regard by providing minor injuries treatment, emergency department care and primary health care in that manner to help restore and maintain services pending restoration of the normal healthcare treatment when the hospital reopens and primary healthcare resumes.
What kind of reactions do you get from the people you're meeting and treating?
We've been extremely warmly welcomed here. by both the clinicians and also by the population that we're serving. It's made a great impact upon them. But really, what I'd like to say is draw attention to the great work being done by the Turkish clinical staff themselves, very many of whom have come from throughout the country and are working very long hours in, as you can see, very difficult situations, living in tents. Temperatures are extremely cold at the moment. Some of the areas where we've been, the nighttime temperature has been down to -7. Very difficult circumstances, but an amazing amount of work is being done to treat these difficult circumstances.
Dr. Mannion, thank you very much indeed for joining us tonight. Good luck with your work.
Thank you.